I'm surprised you said you didn't know the word motif when you were 5. That's very much.
Well, all of that to say,
you know when you get kids out of little smoking jackets and the old bubble pipes. Right, that's 5-year-old Jarod, just like, mother, where's my symbolism slippies?
Hello there, and welcome back to our last episode covering the 2003 Genndy Tartakovsky Star Wars Clone Wars 2D micro series. I am the host of this season, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs of the Nerd Academy Podcast, and the proprietor of this channel, one Mitch 692, joining us for one last jaunt into the galaxy far, far away.
I just realized the way you said the title of this, or the way that Disney have made the title of this, is actually an anime title. It fits. It's fine.
Genndy Tartakovsky Star Wars Clone Wars 2D micro series. Twice Upon a Bebop Piece Z. Academia.
Done.
But yeah, we're here at the end.
We are. Well, we're past the end now. We just got
we're here at the end of our time with the show. Yeah. So yeah, we've watched both volumes. And we're gonna just kind of have a little after the fact kind of conversation. So I guess first of all, I gotta ask Mitch, like where does this like kind of 2-part narrative, action packed, hard to quantify piece of Star Wars media kind of fall for you in terms of like the other works in the Star Wars pantheon?
Well, I put it above the Clone Wars movie.
Well, that's good.
Because that thing was the hot dookie.
The Star Wars, the Clone Wars movie, not to date this too badly, a piece of Star Wars media that became aggressively relevant over the last week. Did you not hear about that casting news? Jeremy Allen White of The Bear is going to be playing Rada the Hutt in The Mandalorian and Grogu.
That is one hell of a cast. That's
so funny. That is the funniest thing that has happened in Star Wars news in the longest time.
The fact that man was out there like crapping on Marvel stuff to then show up in Star Wars as Stinky. He's it's funny as fuck.
It's so funny. It's so goddamn funny. It's everything about it. It's okay. Jeremy Allen White in Star Wars. I see it. I think an argument can be made that like there's a handful of like Legends characters off the top of my head I think he'd do a damn good job portraying. But to then read the rest of that headline, Jeremy Allen White cast in The Mandalorian and Grogu. Cool. As Rada the Hutt. Stinky the Hutt. I think is very, 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 very funny. But the fact that Rada's coming back, I think, is like emblematic of like this overarching theme that is cut through the Mandoverse, as it will, about like community and how like in the face of adversity, like how difficult it is to put communities back together, especially a diaspora people like the Mandalorians. And, you have the Tuskens and you have, people with their own small families and lives they're leading. Grief Karga, I think, is emblematic of that as well. So I think this idea of like the scion of Jabba the Hutt coming back, I hope in a heroic capacity, to like
I can't
aid.
believe you just actually said scion unironically.
I did. To bring him back as like, hopefully a better version of the Hutt clans to aid Ahsoka, who very heroically saved his life at the beginning of the Clone Wars. So I don't know. I think it's like it's shit posty, but also has like a very important core to it.
This feels like a really self-aware Glup shitter.
Yeah.
Like they know. There's a reason why he wasn't in Book of Boba Fett. Because if anything probably should have been in there. But having it here, it's like, we know what we're doing. No. Filoni's being Filoni, as he always is.
Listen, Filoni, he's a fellow Yinzer. He's also from Pittsburgh, like myself. You got to let us cook. You got to let us Pittsburgh guys cook.
Is that why it takes 3 seasons?
He's telling an overarching story.
There was nothing overarching about the first 3 seasons of The Clone Wars. Nothing was overarching.
Listen, you can talk to Henry Gilroy and George about that, okay?
Who was showrunner on that thing?
On TCW?
Yeah.
I don't know if they had like a proper showrunner. I feel like it was just like Lucas and then Filoni kind of riding shotgun with him.
I still blame Filoni.
Yeah, I figured you would.
Lucas is older, right? He's got an excuse. Mans is old. He's older now, obviously, but Mans wasn't.
George just gets to do whatever the fuck he wants.
Exactly. He's George. Right. Better off or worse. It's just like, let him. It's his toys. Let him play with it. Filoni should have learned. Filoni didn't learn.
I think that, but part of that, like, let George do what George wants to do. I think that this Clone Wars, the 2D one, is very emblematic of like that George Lucas spirit of like, we're doing shit because it feels right. We're doing shit because it feels right. You know,
that's very evident in these 2 parts.
You know, like
very evident
because you have stuff that is kind of buck wild. You know, that just kind of feels out of place. You know, we joked about it in the last episode, those weird droid tanks that shot bubbles.
Yeah.
You know, there's something
not that
very
I can
George.
actually remember those tanks, but
they were the ones that you were talking about Anakin feeling weirdly overpowered with. But yeah, it's your stuff like that. There's stuff like the ARC troopers fighting their way through Munilence without a single line of dialogue.
Which I respect the choice. Tanks. It's just kind of weird, especially when you're trying to humanize clones.
Oh, that's the thing, though. This show has no interest in doing that. Most of the old Legends EU had no real interest in humanizing the clone troopers. I think that one dark spot that's going to hang over the depiction of the clones forever. And I say this as somebody who loves D. Bradley Baker's performances across all of current Star Wars as the entirety of the Grand Army of the Republic. I got to meet him in this past August. He's a very sweet guy. He loves these characters. He loves this role, and he cares about it a lot. The whitewashing of the clone troopers is something that will always kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. Again, I love D. I think he turns in a fantastic performance. Rex, Cody, Fives, Echo, all the Domino Squad, the Bad Batch. He's fucking great. He's a wonderful performer. The issue is like the weird whitewashing of it, because this goes all the way back to the mid 2000s. You know, Attack of the Clones comes out, and you have all of these video games between the Star Wars, the Clone Wars game with all the tank stuff we talked about at the very first episode, the Battlefront games, and this show. It is generic white guy action hero voice across the board. It's one of the reasons why I think D deserves some credit, that it sounds like he's melding like Tamora Morrison's Kiwi accent with like the Coruscanti core world kind of like British accent,
I can hear it,
that like that it turns into that very specific voice. It doesn't quite sound like Jango, but these clones didn't grow up around Jango. You know, they grew up around the Kaminoans. So like any type of like predisposition that their voice would have that is replicated from him then gets colored by being surrounded by a lot of core world people. But like this show, like something I noticed, I think we talked about in the second volume, as the gunship is going in to rescue Coyote Mundi and friends on Hypori, is that brief moment where you're seeing the clone finish putting his helmet on. And you see like the brown skin and some of the curly hair. of what is clearly a young Tamora Morrison looking figure. But even then, you're just like, yeah, but why the fuck do you sound like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, which it's just something that has colored the depiction of the clone troopers in animated media for ages. That is always going to be a little bit disappointing. But
I mean, you get that with so many things, right? You always, especially from like at least the 2000s.
Oh yeah,
like people just didn't care. It was never a thought in anyone's head. No.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But so you rank this above the Clone Wars movie.
Mm-hmm. It's second to last and everything, put it that way.
Okay.
Actually, no, I'll put it third because I did not count the Clone Wars as one thing. It is season 1 to 3, then 4 to 7. Is it 7 seasons?
Yeah.
So I split that into 2. So
okay,
it's third. Mainly because it's not there because I think it was bad. It's there because it's, what's the word? I guess redundant at this point.
Yeah.
I haven't seen everything and then going to this, it's like, well, I know it doesn't really play into anything. Like, obviously, some stuff is kind of relevant, but at the same time, there's no need for me to go back and watch this again. Whereas if I was doing like a full thing, I would not put this in there in the slides. I would just go straight to the Clone Wars and do it.
No, I mean that makes perfect sense. I mean, it's kind of that weird thing of like when you go back to the original of anything after you've seen all of its successors, you know, that it does feel in some ways obsolete, and I do understand that. I think the other, again, I don't want to say issue because I don't think you can critique this for not having much of a story to it, because it was designed to be, you know, little shorts.
It's also it's about the war, right? How much can you really tell in 3 minutes?
Yeah, aside from action set pieces, aside from very stylized action set pieces.
Yeah, it's got that. It's a cartoon. It has to be action. You can't do anything. Obviously, they do try and do something later on with the whole Anakin in the cave and all that, but before that, it's just make it all action. That's fine. That's all it needs to be at this point, which. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But
yeah, like I said, and that's why this was like supposed to be like a fun mini season too. Is that let's watch some fun Star Wars action set pieces. As kind of a palate cleanser from the oppressive heaviness of Evangelion. So with the action set pieces on the mind, what were some of your favorite, you know, kind of protracted battles or action moments, or, you know, and then we can talk about character beats after that. Cause there are some good character moments throughout this, even though there's not a whole lot of plot and characterization.
I should have thought about this beforehand. The one that really sticks out to me, and it's because I think it's purely because I don't think I've seen anything that Star Wars do this before. Or since, is the I can't remember his name, the weird dude who's clearly from Halo. He's made out of worms.
Dirge.
That's the one. Like that whole Lancer fight. I was like, you know what? Star Wars need more Lancers. I can't actually think. What do they call it? The jousting. That's the one.
Yeah.
I like that jousting fight.
That's a lot of fun.
From start to finish, I just like the jousting fight. It's cool.
I also really like in the jousting stuff on Munilinst. I really love Obi-Wan's choreography, and I love Obi-Wan's poses. Like this show, the posing is insane. Like I remember, like there are so many instances where somebody kind of strikes a pose after doing some cool shit that I forgot that's why, like when I think of certain Star Wars characters, that silhouette is what comes to mind. Like at the beneath us in the very middle, that's the case for Mace Windu for me. Like that exact pose of him like lightsaber out hand or lightsaber up hand out and like a big force push kind of pose. Like I think of Mace and I kind of like obviously I see Sam Jackson, but I also think of that pose. And I think that watching this as a kid, and the run up to, which I cannot stress enough, was marketed as the final chapter of Star Wars, at least on the big screen. How much weight that carried. That, you know, like this is I got to get everything in that I can. As a wee little laddie, you know, a lot of this does, you know, have a big impact with that. So we like Lance's on Munilinst. What were some of the others that were kind of stand out to you?
You got to forgive the brain fog here. I'm still getting over this cold, whatever it is.
No, you're good, bro.
What else happened? I think all the clone stuff was cool. Like just the clone, that one or the first clone scene where
on Munilinst, where
yeah, same place still. I got no idea what the fucking names are. I'm not a nerd.
Well, thankfully nothing's on Elfrona, am I right? Anyway.
Well, if it was, you might be different timeline here. But I just, the fact that there was no dialogue, I really enjoyed that. It was kind of, you expect the cartoon to have a bit of dialogue every now and then, but that was just like, nah.
Yeah, I
like that direction.
Yeah.
It's nice to see, you know, you can communicate without words. And obviously, you're in a war. You're in the middle of a fight. You kind of don't want to make that much of a racket, despite the racket popping off. No. They're probably my biggest two that I can recall off the top of my head. I liked the Anakin cave, not when he's in the cave, when he's rescuing the weird, Navi rat people. Just mainly because of what that represents, that one, right? You know, the whole. I just completely lost my train of thought on that one. Anyway, what that scene in that fight was trying to like say, that's probably why.
Yeah, the allegory of like Anakin and his relationship to his humanity.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's it's fun coming back to that one because it was one of those, like, I remember watching that as a kid, and it's just one of those moments where like your brain kind of opens up a little bit in terms of creativity. Because I remember watching that and going, "Oh, I never even considered the idea that Anakin could lose his hand again."
Yeah.
Like that, like, well, we saw him lose it to Count Dooku, and I know that Luke will cut it off at the end. So that's the only time that'll happen.
Yeah.
Really. So,
because why would you think they're going to cut it out, like get rid of it again, right? Like you've got rid of it once. Like there's no the threat and the danger is not there anymore because it's already gone. But
yeah, and like with that whole like kind of like, ooh, like wow, that's such an interesting choice. And again, as a kid, you can't put words to what the metaphor is about Anakin and like the foreshadowing that whole arc has in it. But you know, you don't have the words for it. But I think on some level, like as kids, you get it. Like you understand, especially because it's preceded by the like foretelling of what Vader will be, and how it is an extension of Anakin continuously putting his own humanity on the back burner, in the name of fighting a war.
I'll also give props to the whole Grievous introduction, purely because it's dumb as fuck. Fighting with your feet, no. It's got the sauce, but no, that was dumb. But it stands out, and I loved it. I loved it because it was dumb.
Absolutely. The foot fighting stuff, I was, even as a kid, I was like, this is deeply silly. And then
you don't get much else. You get style points. It's fine.
Yeah, you get style points, you know. And hey, again, some of the most brutal kills in all of Star Wars are here, man.
It's true, yeah.
Like there's some vicious ones. Like obviously, we talk so much about that other Syrian Jedi and like the implied brutality of what happens to him. But even if you take all of that off the table, like grab by the face, snap every bone in your upper body, and then home run through that wrecked shuttle or wrecked cruiser. So there's those. I think for me, like, and I wanted to see if like this would change. Like again, like rewatching it with a little bit of a more critical eye. You know, like this is like the Tartakovsky Clone Wars has always been like a Star Wars I put on in the background. that I can look up at and like see the lightsabers go burr, and then look back away and go back to doing whatever I was doing, and or look up because I like this line of dialogue a lot, kind of thing. So getting to like sit down and rewatch it with a critical eye, I was curious as to whether or not the duel between Anakin and Asajj Ventress on Yavin 4 was going to be as much of a standout for me as I always thought it was.
That's fair. I actually completely forgot about that one, but yeah. That's because Ventress. Fuck this Ventress.
I know you don't like this Ventress, but that fight does hold up. Like after all these years, especially because we've had so many great Ventress fights since then.
Yeah.
We've had, Ventress versus Ahsoka and Luminara. We've had Obi-Wan and Anakin versus Ventress. How many times in TCW? Ventress and the Night Sisters versus Dooku, Ventress and Savage versus Dooku. There are so many great Ventress fights in the successor to this show that I was like, oh, did this fight really have the sauce, or was I 5 and enamored by lightsabers?
I think it definitely has the sauce. I think the biggest thing in favor of it is the rain sizzling.
Oh yeah.
I think if you took that away, you lose so much of the atmosphere of that.
Infinite aura for that, just, especially in the way that, again, it does harken back to those quiet moments in some of the best lightsaber duels. I think some of the best fights in all of Star Wars have like a moment where everybody's like, okay, we both agree that we need to take a breath.
Yeah.
Let me take a breath and then I'm going to finish fucking you up. I think Vader versus Luke round 1 to Empire Strikes Back has that, where you have how many times where the fight stops and it is just Vader hiding, waiting for Luke to drop his guard a little bit. That adds to the suspense. We have all of the suspense at the end of the Duel of the Fates, like as everybody gets separated by the laser gates, the suspense of Qui-Gon meditating, Obi-Wan standing very much on guard, and Maul just stalking them like a predator in the grass. And then followed up by Obi-Wan just seething behind the laser gate after Qui-Gon gets taken out. I think that it's one of those like unspoken, incredible things in like the lightsaber duel oeuvre that is a well that is not returned to as often as I think it could be.
No.
I
action trap, doesn't it? Where you forget they're people. They have to actually breathe. They get fatigued and all that sort of stuff. No.
Like as much as I ride for the fights in the sequel trilogy, as I think that they are some of the best lightsaber duels in the canon, little C canon. You don't get that, like it's, the fight starts and we don't stop until it's over. Be it on Starkiller Base, the Supremacy, or on Kef Bir, it just keeps going and going and going and going. This, having that moment to breathe, especially after every other big action set piece, is non-stop chaos. Like the battles, everything happening on Unilist. There is never a moment of, let me catch my breath. With the clones, with fighting Dirge, Mace Windu does not have a moment like that, on Dantooine, which is another standout set piece for me, obviously. It's just him punching out battle droids for, 9 minutes in the aggregate. But, it's all just this high octane, go, 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 insanity. And then when you get to Anakin versus Ventress, there is like, again, there's a weird intimacy to it almost that I think really does set it apart, especially because it's preceded by Ventress, manhandling and, slaughtering all of that whole clone squadron sent there to accompany Anakin, with her just, again, some of the most brutal kills in all of Star Wars when you like watch that one clone just get slammed and slammed and slammed against the ground and against the tree and against the rock, and you're watching the armor dent and his helmet cave in. But yeah, I think the fight choreography for Anakin versus Ventress is great. And as a kid, I always loved the foreshadowing of Vader in anything. It always made me, it always made me happy because I felt like I felt smart because I got what it was doing as a kid. My mom loves to tell this story where she got me this little outfit at like Kmart or whatever back in the day. I think it was around when Attack of the Clones came out. And it has like a Star Wars logo on the bottom. And then it had that like kind of glimmering lightsaber with like the rays of light that kind of beam off the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It had that shooting up. And on one side of it, it was Padawan Anakin's face. And on the other side, it was Darth Vader. And it was like it was all cast in this like shades of like dark red. So it was that on the t-shirt, and then the outfit came with like they looked like slip-on Vans that had the same print on them.
Yeah. But was it one face per shoe?
No, it was not.
Just one job.
Maybe it was. I don't remember it like that. What I do know is I had the t-shirt and I had the shoes, and my mom, because I watched like the Lou Ferrigno Hulk show with my mom as a kid too. Like I don't have any memory of it aside from watching it, but I just remember it was also around when the Ang Lee Hulk movie came out. And I just remember being really into the Hulk at the time and seeing all of like what as a kid I felt was really scary imagery where it was always half Banner's face, half the Hulk's face.
Yeah.
And asking my mom, like, I understand that he's both. But like, why does this, obviously I didn't know the word motif, but like, adult Jarod retelling kid Jarod stories. I was like, what, why does this motif keep coming up? And my mom explained to me the concept of symbolism and like how like, the Hulk stuff, like it was emblematic of like there are two sides to Bruce Banner, and how then she like called it was like talk about like my Anakin Vader thing. She's like, it's about how like he is Anakin, but one day he will be Vader. And I was like, okay, wow, that's really cool. And then my mom started making fun of me, but loves to tell the story about how ever since that conversation, I would just be like, Mom, where are my symbolism shoes? Where are my symbolism shoes?
How old are you at this point?
Oh God, it was right after Attack of the Clones. So like, maybe 5.
But someone else could have said that story, and I'd be like, "No, you didn't. Shut up." No 5-year-old's being like, "Where's my symbolism shoes?" But you, yeah. I'm surprised you said you didn't know the word motif when you were 5. That's very much
Well, all of that to say,
when you get kids like little smoking jackets and the old bubble pipes, right? That's 5-year-old Jarod, just like, Mother, where's my symbolism slippies? Sitting in this like makeshift library of Star Wars toys and books or like DVDs. Right?
Outside, smoking my bubble pipe, flipping through like the complete visual dictionary for the Phantom Menace. Yes, Oppo Rancisis.
Like apple juice. Like
see, like swizzling an apple juice like it's a scotch. Oh shit, that was so fucking funny. All of that to say, little kid Jarod loved
pretentious. I said it was obnoxious. I meant to say pretentious, but
obnoxious was also accurate.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Right? I know because you were joking about how much you thought the end of the Anakin Ventress fight was a bit too much.
Yeah.
With like the, he takes the saber and then breaks throws it and then starts yelling again. I loved it. As a little kid, I was like, oh, that's not Anakin anymore. That's Darth Vader. And like having that moment where like, again, I don't have the words for, Anakin is a ticking fucking time bomb that has all of this angst and anger building up in him that eventually he is going to explode and people will get hurt. Obviously, I've already seen some of that in Attack of the Clones. But just looking at it and going, oh, this is how he became Vader. Stuff like this. Like, surely this had an effect on him, that he lost control like this. And like, it went from, I'm fighting this person who claims to be of the Sith. I watched you kill how many of my men above Munilinst. Like, I have to stop you. I have to bring you to justice. And recognizing that all of that heroic stuff is just completely thrown off the table. And now it's, I'm going to kill you and I want to fucking hurt you. And I remember as a kid, like understanding that and like loving the moment for what it was, but being like a little bit freaked out by Anakin. That like, I still was at that point where like, I know this guy is Darth Vader.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how this guy is Darth Vader. Like, I see Vader in him, but like, I still just see this guy who cares so much about his friends. How is this guy Vader? So I do concede that it is a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. I get what it's going for. It's just the choice was a lot.
Yeah. Plus, again, like the flashes of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Qui-Gon also. I was like,
yeah.
Especially for Qui-Gon. I was like, oh, Qui-Gon.
That big nose motherfucker.
Yeah. Qui-Gon with his just, somebody was having fun in the Wii channel fucking nose. With regards to character beats, I kind of went on about my Anakin stuff there. Were there any like character moments? Because again, like a lot of this is all vignette. And like,
yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it. Was it the first part or the second part? Or I said I didn't like this interpretation of their relationship.
Yeah, that was,
especially
you said
this Obi-Wan. Was that part?
Yeah, you said you don't like hard ass Obi-Wan, and then you came around to the I don't like Anakin being knighted so late.
Yeah. Like, I think that's something I wish he didn't do. But I would have said that Mace Windu needed more to do in this thing. But the fact that it was just a simple character beat of not being there, that's arguably my favorite bit. Like before that, I don't know what I would have said, but the fact that that's in here and that exists, like that's absolutely my favorite point.
Mace setting out the knighting ceremony.
Bit, the fact that he's that one omission, the fact that he's not there, it's just like, you know what? I think that one bit made the entire thing worth it.
I agree with you. And that, again, that was like a moment for me, like developmentally as a Star Wars fan, like as a young fan, where you're in that phase where like, is this a thing I like now, or is this a thing that I'm going to love my entire life? I truly think that knighting ceremony scene was like a milestone for me as a fan of like, oh, I'm going to love this forever. Yeah. Like, because I was wondering, like, what does it look like to become a Jedi Knight? Because I know in Phantom Menace,
anything else they haven't, have they?
Not on screen, not really. No. It happens in a lot of books. It happens in a decent amount of comics. Cal Kestis in Fallen Order gets his like unofficial knighting from Seer.
He does, where
where she said, but here's what I like.
But she doesn't. She does the typical like that, doesn't she, on the shoulders?
Yeah, which is what Yoda does.
Yeah,
it
but
just doesn't end with the Padawan braid.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Cal doesn't have his braid anymore. He cut it out when he was a kid, but he went into hiding. But first of all, the verbiage of how Yoda does it in the show is something that always stuck with me. Because the verbiage is used in Legends and in canon. That whole, by the will of the Force and by the right of the Council, that's where it overlaps. In Fallen Order, if I remember correctly, it's by the will of the Force and by the right of the Council, and then she pulls the lightsaber back and goes, "Rise, Jedi Knight." This version in here with Yoda, with the by the will of the Force, by the right of the Council, I dub thee Knight or Jedi Knight of the Republic. That I said it and my hair stood up. That verbiage of it is the best fucking version. It is so good. It is so, I love it. I think also I saw somebody point out that at one point in the show they use, I don't know, what was it? At some point it may have been this where they use like a musical cue from KOTOR during one of the battles.
I couldn't tell you anything.
I can't remember where I read that. It was like literally this week I read that there was like another piece of media that like a piece of Star Wars media from this time period that pulled music from KOTOR. And that it's one of the few times where like music from one of the video games ends up in like traditional media and not the other way around.
It wouldn't surprise me if it did actually.
But no, absolutely. And I think that there's such a good like the stars had to align in so many ways to make the Mace Windu did not attend Anakin's knighting ceremony thing work so well. Like there are so many stars that need to align. Like obviously the characterization of Mace and Anakin's relationship, that they're on the rocks, they're at odds. You know, Mace hates that Anakin has this chip on his shoulder, and Anakin is convinced that Mace Windu has always hated him since he was a kid. So that needs to be in place. You need Samuel L. Jackson to beg George Lucas to give him a purple lightsaber and recontextualize how we like thought about what the Jedi weapon, like what was available to that sword. Because even in this, there is still a Jedi with a red lightsaber. Whenever I think it's Aegon Kolar, when he ends up in a bubble. Like with the bubble droids, it's the wolf guy, Aegon Kolar, and Aayla Secura. He has a red lightsaber. And I remember just focusing on that as a kid. Which is, again, kind of an homage and a throwback to like the old 90s comics where everybody had crazy lightsaber colors. You know, Mace had blue, but Coyote-Mundi and like 8 other people had purple. And a bunch of people had red, you know, like Adi Gallia had red, and Eth Koth had red, and Saisi Tin had red. Like all before somebody came in and said, "Hey, blue and green, that's it." And then Mace said, "But purple, actually, too."
I didn't clock that there's a red lightsaber. How funny,
right? But yeah, so like so you need Sam Jackson to be like, I want a purple lightsaber. He goes, okay. So we give Mace Windu a purple lightsaber, and now that look is iconic. This you know, just the visage of the very serious, grim, duty-bound Jedi Master Mace Windu in his light brown robes with this vibrant purple blade. It becomes so iconic to this character that in all of the wonder of this moment, you know, and I think it's one of the few times this show leans into the wonder of Star Wars. With the knighting ceremony. Like there is like, it is one of the few moments. And obviously I don't think that's by accident, you know, again, we're at war. And things are getting very, very dangerous and scary. But it's one of the few moments where a character goes, oh, wow. You know, and that we as the audience are able to go, oh, wow, with them. When all of the lightsabers, you know, light up the room in blues and greens. And you're like, wow, this is really cool. And you go, wait a minute. Famously, there is a guy with purple who works here in this room. And there's no purple.
It's easy to miss as well.
Because you're caught up in the wonder of it. You know, it's right off the heels of Anakin's kind of out of nowhere, you know, and you're no Qui-Gon Jinn.
That was a joke. That was such a joke. Like, okay.
Great moment. I wish it had any context, but like, so you're coming off of that, and now you're like distracted by all the wonder that like it doesn't click. That like Mace went, no, I am. He's like maybe he does deserve to be a Jedi Knight. He's a damn good Jedi. He's not ready. Mark my words. And because this is also an act of us capitulating to the Chancellor, I want no part of it. Such a good moment, such a good beat, and it's so it's just so underplayed. It's so low key that I think
the Clone Wars dude it doesn't do the knighting scene, does it?
No. In the current canon, Anakin is knighted almost immediately after the Battle of Geonosis. And it is also not a proper knighting.
Yeah.
It is not. And now, granted, I don't know that we know in canon if it is like each Padawan at the end of their trial, whatever it may be, is brought before the Jedi Council and they get the whole speech and then their Padawan braid is sheared off with a lightsaber. As it is presented in Star Wars Brotherhood by Mike Chen, which is a phenomenal book that I can't recommend enough, especially if you want more Obi-Wan and Anakin like as they are depicted in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
If you want more of that, Brotherhood is their first adventure, no longer as master and student. You get this mass knighting where there are a bunch of Padawans who all either were pretty much ready for the trials or served on Geonosis and made it out alive. Because 212 Jedi went to Geonosis and just under 100 came back. As just kind of like a point of reference for how, yes, the Republic won that battle, but just how tits up things went regardless. So any of the Padawans who survived pretty much were like, okay, you're getting knighted. Like, yeah. That satisfies the Jedi trials, that the first time we were all in a battlefield engagement since the days of the Sith. So it's Anakin.
Which kind of sucks. What about an honorary one? Like, what's it when you give someone an award when they've died?
Like a posthumous award.
That's the one, posthumous. Yeah, I can't even say post-mortem. I don't know.
Like a posthumous knighting for all the fallen Padawans.
Yeah. But I guess the Jedi suck, right? So that shouldn't surprise me.
You waited until I hit my vape. You waited. You fucking waited. You waited until something was in my mouth to say that. And that really pisses me off, Mitch.
That wasn't my fault. You can roll it back. I wasn't looking at the screen. So...
Oh, that was dirty. The Jedi do not suck.
Oh, the Jedi suck.
To quote Alden
the Star Wars knows Jedi suck.
The Jedi stumble.
You're not Italian, Jarod. You can't.
I am Italian.
No, you're not. You're American.
I have a lot of Italian heritage.
So does fucking most of Europe, but you don't see us going like, I'm Italian.
Anyway, the Jedi are not perfect. They stumble. They are flawed. But they are doing the right thing. They are always trying their best to do the best for the most people.
Jedi will break pasta in half. Jedi put pineapple on pizza.
Okay. Anyway. Yeah, you're infuriating. But in canon, it's Anakin, the lead character from Red Blade: Rise of the Inquisitorius, Iskat Akaris, and another future Inquisitor named Tualon, and a handful of other Padawans about to become knights. But it's Anakin, and then it's Darth Vader and 2 Inquisitors who all get knighted at the very beginning of the war.
Classic. And this man just told me they don't suck.
They don't, but it's emblematic of what's about to happen.
Yeah.
How much good did Anakin do during the war? How many lives were saved? How many entire planets were saved? Because Anakin Skywalker had military command.
And then commits a genocide himself and then makes a fascist regime.
That has nothing to do with the beginning of the war. That has nothing to do with the beginning of the war. But that's not my fucking point.
Doesn't matter. Space Hitler donated to a food shelter one time. Again, I wasn't looking at the screen, so I didn't actually know.
So what got me was Space Hitler donated to a food shelter. Not homeless shelter, not food bank, food shelter.
Brain fog. I'm telling you.
But yeah. So I guess one other thing, were there any glup shittos that you picked up as somebody you were like, oh, that's a weird little guy, I love him?
No.
No,
Not top of my head. No, I think I'd need to watch it a couple more times to actually pin that down.
To snag a glup.
I don't think you can just go in and pick up.
I know the internet very much attached itself to Shaggy. Who you caught.
I mean, he takes up half the fucking screen.
Broad-shouldered motherfucker. We joked about the way Grievous kills him. I always like almost all of the Jedi that are there to be fodder for Grievous. As a kid, I was like, I want your action figure so bad. Like Shaggy, that other Syrian Jedi, Kakruk, and then the Ithorian and the Talls from whenever they're trying to save the Chancellor. I remember just being absolutely enamored. Because it was that fun choice of like, not every Jedi has to be a human. Let's choose some of the goofiest aliens we can. In the case of the Ithorian and the Talls, right? Like you just have this big, like puffy, like Pangoon, newt looking motherfucker who's going toe to toe with Grievous and holding his own. And then obviously you have like, again, this like, hammerhead, guy, and like the
I don't like Ithorians. Ithorians creep me out.
Yeah. So is that you saying the Thought Wars your least favorite character on Bastards?
No, but Ithorians just creep me out. No.
You get to look at Alden and not an Ithorian.
There is a bonus there. No, it's just
it's the throats. It's the quad throats that are unsettling in the trunk. But yeah,
that big and you ain't the goat. Like, no, I'm sorry.
Jesus.
Anyway,
maybe I'll walk out of here tomorrow and you never see me again. That's really what I want to do.
Oh man, that's no good.
But anyway, no glup shittos for me, unfortunately, because a glup shittos for life, not just for Christmas. So I'm not just going to pick one out. Anybody?
Glup shitto is for life and not Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
I thought of that because of the time we're recording this. Because fun fact, it's just the week before Christmas. But I remembered that this isn't coming out for Christmas, so. This is a January thing, and you'll know that because it'll be January when you see it.
Yes, that's so funny. I'm trying to think, like, have I ever like fully retired a glup shitto? Because like the whole glup shitto thing is so difficult. Because some people will call somebody a glup shitto, and it's like you can't say that.
Unfortunately, it's Star Wars. To every non-nerd, everything's a glup shitto.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, isn't it? Like, if you know Star Wars well enough to have a glup shitto, like if you know Star Wars well enough to know that term, if you have heard the term glup shitto and knew what it meant. I
mean, just go on Twitter and you know what glup shitto is.
Sure, but that's what I'm saying, though. Like, you have to care. There's a level of care there's a level of give a shit to know what glup shitto is. That it's then like, how do you qualify that? Because I've seen people argue that glup shitto just means like obscure character, so that like you could be like, oh, my favorite glup shitto is the lead character from a series of novels, and it's like, no, they are the main character and we're central to galactic events. You can't call that a glup shitto.
I think you can. You can't because you're too deep in the. Too deep in the whole thing.
I'm way in the shit. Way in the shitto.
But for any like normal person that has a healthy relationship with anything, or even an unhealthy relationship, if it ain't in the movies or Mando, it's a club shitto. It's as simple as that. You know, what's his face from Rebels? I can't think of his name. Big purple dude.
Big purple dude?
He was in
Zeb.
That's it, Zeb. How the fuck did I forget Zeb's name? Zeb is like, you know, probably shouldn't be classified as a glub shitto. Is 100% a glub shitto. 100%.
That's the weird thing though. Like if you just watch the live action TV shows, this gigantic purple monkey man who just like looks at Carson Teva for one line of dialogue so that you can hear that it's Steve Bloom feels glup shitty. But he's one of the most important characters in Star Wars, or in Rebels at least. But like, he's also like, Zeb's such a fun example though, because when you say Zeb's full name, that's where he feels even more glup shitty.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like that's not Zeb, that's Garazeb Aurelios. Like glup shitto right there. Prime time glup shitto name.
In fact, I think we should make a notion to change glup shitto to whatever the fuck you just said.
Garazeb Aurelios.
That's the one, yeah.
That is already the name of a important character in a very popular show. Though.
I'm just saying, like, you change like the glup shitto to that.
Oh, to be as long-winded as that? Oh, yeah. I mean,
just, instead of saying, "Oh, that's a glup shitto," just say,
"That's a Garazeb Aurelios." Yeah. I don't know.
You should absolutely change it.
So you're like another like funny glup shitto hang up. Eli from In a Galaxy, commissioner of Epic Confrontations. Like that little motherfucker loves Ochi of Bestoon and insists that Ochi is a glup shitto. But it's like, but Ochi is integral to the plot of The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if you can call Ochi of Bestoon a glup shitto. You know, do most people who saw that movie once or twice just know of him as the weird yellow guy with buttholes for eyes? Maybe.
He does. He looks like something from Coraline.
Yeah, he has. It's those butthole button eyes.
Why is he obsessed with that? Of all things,
a lot of it's to do with like the pulp of The Rise of Skywalker and how Ochi is just like so important for an act and a half and then vanishes from the narrative.
That is from The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, that's the guy who kills Rey's parents. It's his dagger.
Do you know what? I watched that movie once when it came out, and that was enough. No, wait. No, I haven't watched it once. Yeah, just the once.
It's worth revisiting.
I thought I did when it hit Disney Plus, but either I just forgot that I've seen it again, or I didn't do it. It's one of the two.
It's worth revisiting.
It's
definitely not my favorite. It's definitely not my favorite, but I think it's overhated as well.
But you say that about everything Star Wars.
Yes, because everything Star Wars is overhated.
I mean,
people make it their entire personality to dislike shit.
Yeah, but when you do the opposite of that,
I don't overlove a lot of Star Wars things. There are things in Star Wars that I love with my whole chest. But stuff like The Rise of Skywalker, I'm like, if I had my druthers, there are some things I would change a lot about it, but it is what it is.
If I was to say Andor right now,
I would say that you're being reductive on purpose and trying to get a rise out of me, and that would be it.
Yeah, but why would you have to say that, though? This is proving my point.
No, it's not. Listen, you want to hear a funny story? We'll close this on a funny story.
Well, I should mute, excuse me.
Taylor and I, we were Christmas shopping about a week and a half ago.
Is this where you have the argument in the car?
No. This is years ago. What Mitch is referring to is the time Taylor and I got into one of our few very heated arguments where we were screaming at each other in our car in a Walmart parking lot over whether or not Ben Solo deserved to live or not.
Yeah.
But no, a couple weeks ago, you and Armin were in the Comic Book Cast Facebook group.
Oh, it's always me and Armin's fault.
Doing the... Though it was you guys taking the piss out of me for how I talk about Star Wars. And then Armin followed it up with, Jarod, you will defend anything.
Yes.
He's like, if you see somebody say something negative about Star Wars, you will defend it.
It's because it's true.
And no, it fucking isn't. It is the fact that I
just did
demand.
amble, and you're like, oh, you're just trying to get the rise. Like, no, it's
I was. Yeah, because you are. You are.
No, you're making.
No, I demand that we have. No, Star Wars discourse has been in the toilet for the better part of the last 25 years.
True,
and I demand that the conversations be more robust.
I'd argue the fact that Star Wars has never had good discourse around it since Empire.
I wasn't around. I couldn't tell you.
Or even Return of the Jedi, and we know that's true because you look at
yeah.
It's never had good discourse around.
Yeah, Dennis Villeneuve was talking shit about the Ewoks, and it's a shitty take. I said it wrong on purpose.
That little Nueve. Out comes the smoking jacket again with the bubble pipe. No.
I said it wrong on purpose. I don't think I get the smoking jacket for mispronouncing a French name. I think at that point I get like the shittiest pack of cigarettes and a fucking denim jacket. But
no. But still in a pretentious phase. No.
But I read that out loud in the car to Taylor, and she was laughing. And then she started making jokes about me being the Star Wars opinion police.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
And
100%.
She said it's you and Alden.
Yeah. 100%.
She said it's me and Alden as the Star Wars opinion police, but I'm the good cop and he's the bad cop. And that we good cop, bad cop people online about their Star Wars takes. Now, I felt some kind of way about that.
I mean, so would I. I've just been called out to my face, like.
And then as we're having this conversation, what I don't realize is that Taylor, as we're speaking, as we're in the car, and we've been listening to Christmas music all day, she slides "The Sound of the Police" by KRS-One into the queue. And we're singing along to some like Leslie Odom Jr. Christmas song. And as I take a sip of my water bottle, whoop, whoop, that's the sound of the police, and I just spit all over the fucking car.
Classic. Well done.
That's the sound of the beat. I was like, man, this is fucked up. Like,
well, do you know how to fix it?
What? Trying to
stop rabbit nosing every time someone says Star Wars bad. No.
I'm not. It's not Star Wars bad. It's reductive conversation about anything. I get this way about everything. It's just that I talk my shit about this on a microphone all the fucking time. And I refuse this slander. Especially because 9 out of 10 times, all of you fuckers agree with me. I have good takes on Star Wars. I have great takes on Star Wars. And most of you guys agree with me. It's just whenever I refuse, it's just when I refuse to be like in 2020, year of our Lord 2024, start talking about Hayden Christensen's acting in Attack of the Clones and going, I think this horse is dead. Then everyone's like, oh, here comes Jarod to police everybody's opinion. I'm crashing out and I earned it, okay?
Yeah, but you're still defending it in 2024.
Are some of his line deliveries kind of ass in that movie? Yes.
Some.
Does he also have moments where Hayden is able to snatch a pretty good performance out of the jaws of George Lucas's infamously bad directing? Also, yes. Nobody can read that dialogue.
Let me get that notebook and write that down. We'll talk about it next time.
What?
It's for therapy, right?
Anyway, Mitch, final thoughts on Tartakovsky Clone Wars. Now that I crashed out for the last 5 minutes, Merry Christmas. What do you think of this card?
This is the reason why I agreed to do this. I was like, you know what? I can take piss out of Jarod for Star Wars for a good 10 minutes at some point because there's more bad than good. I'm just going to say it now.
Final thoughts before I quit.
Oh, I just nearly killed myself there. Oh. Excuse me, that's made me go lightheaded. Oh. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
Like most of Star Wars, I enjoy it for what it is. If it was bad, it was bad. If not, I don't lose anything. It's a win-win. But no, it was fine. It was a lot tamer than I thought, but because everyone's gassed it up as being this wacky out of the over the top thing, does all this and that. It's like it's kind of tame, but it's fine.
Yeah, and I think again, it's one of those weird things where it's like you had to be there for it to like hit you with how insane it is. Like, you're coming to it in 2024, damn near 20 years after The Force Unleashed. We've had two of the Jedi, like the Jedi games with Cal Kestis, where he's also doing insane shit. And insane shit happens in both of those games, between Seer and Vader and Dagan Gera, or like they're all doing insane shit with the Force. I think that I do think the Tartakovsky Clone Wars kind of opened the door for a lot of the Star Wars, but what if it's kind of out of its mind with like the power scaling?
I want to have a bit of fun with it, sort of thing.
Yeah. Like I think in many ways, people our age, when we're watching the prequels and we see like, say what you will about how some of the special effects have aged, some better than others, but you look at that and then people are like, yeah, but look at A New Hope. This was groundbreaking. You and I as adults who love film and like know a lot about movies and how this stuff is made can now look back at Star Wars and go, oh my God, you made this in the mid 70s. And this is aged like wine. And then look at Empire and then Jedi, where it just got better and better. We are able to appreciate it now. But like as kids, we're like, yeah, but like, this is insane. Like, I don't understand how any of this could be real. I think there's a similar effect here with Tartakovsky Clone Wars. Because whenever you first said, like, this is a lot tamer than I thought it would be, when you first said that, I was like, Mace Windu beat up an army of battle droids. What do you mean it's tame? But then I'm like, but you also were there for Starkiller pulling a Star Destroyer out of the sky. Like, so in my mind, I'm like, so on some level, like, for lack of a better word, I do think a lot of us have been desensitized to like the Force with anime logic, that kind of term that gets thrown around a lot of like, you want your Star Wars to feel like Dragon Ball, which more often than not is used as a pejorative about a lot of people. But like on some level, like this show did that. And then came Force Unleashed, then came, a lot of Legends novels where you have people literally start glowing and levitating and shit as they start using the Force on people you can't use the Force on. Because, it kind of goes to that, Jason Solo goes Super Saiyan at the end of the new Jedi Order books. Like, there's no other way to describe it. They call it oneness, but he goes Super Saiyan. But so I think that the power creep over the years mixed with like, again, lack of a better term, desensitization. I do see how this does seem tame in 2024. But at the time, this shit hit crazy when you were a kid.
I can imagine,
like that. And I think that's my thing is that like coming back to it, like I'm able to go, yeah, I felt like I was tripping balls when I was 5 watching Mace Windu just start throwing haymakers at super battle droids.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it. I can appreciate, it is a product of its time.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm just trying to think, would it work? If this was new, would it work today? Obviously, they've done it a lot different today, I think. But
yeah, I think Star Wars Visions is proof that this still works.
Sure. In fact,
not just because of the anime influence.
Like the end result of this, right?
What'd you say?
Like Visions is the end result of this. Like we're getting that because we had this, and because people wanted this. They're like, you know what? Let's try and do something slightly different.
I think there's something to that. I think that Tartakovsky Clone Wars sets the table for a lot of the unconventional storytelling methods we've gotten for Star Wars lately. I think like stuff like Visions, stuff like Tales of the, both Jedi and Empire, that are like, here's like a little short. Here's a little short that is mostly built around a big action set piece. That is kind of a little bit of a vignette about a character and a character beat and kind of the moment a character came to a conclusion, that is reliant on a lot of implied interaction before the moment you're seeing it. In the same way that there's a lot of implied tension about why Anakin snaps at Obi-Wan with the "you're no Qui-Gon Jinn" moment. There's a lot of implied, like, Anakin is already fucked off at Obi-Wan for some reason. And it leaves it to us. So I do agree with you. I think without this, we don't get Visions or Tales of the.
I also think it's probably ironically that the twin. I always bring up the twins episode of Visions because it's my favorite one. I think if the twins,
which is a hot take that I respect you for, because a lot of people shit on the twins.
That's because people are tasteless heathens, i.e., Star Wars fans. Both sides of that spectrum.
Okay, lowborn.
I mean, you wanted lowborn tattooed on you, so you can't throw that back in my face.
I was thinking about it,
See, there you go.
Maybe one day I'll rewatch it and I will fully commit to that idea. Who knows?
You should rewatch it. Or you can just watch the new Gundam series, because that's just going to be an Evangelion thing. But, Twins is absolutely, factually, the best one. It's got the best animation to it. But I think that one actually might have caused the opinion of this being tame. I think I was expecting more like the twins for this one.
I mean, it's been a while since I saw a lot of the Visions Volume 1 stuff, but I feel like this has more in common, like Tartakovsky Clone Wars has more in common with stuff like The Ninth Jedi than it does with the twins.
I mean, sure. Yeah.
Like,
with
the twins is out of its fucking mind.
This was like, I was expecting more the twins level of it for this. Like, that's where my expectations was at. I'm expecting that level of craziness from the twins for Tartakovsky. Because it's not. I wouldn't even say it's as Samurai Jack as like Samurai Jack.
No, I think there's a lot of like Samurai Jack influence on this.
Yeah. But I think they kind of reined it. It's like bare bones Samurai Jack.
Yeah, for sure.
It's that that Marvel director thing where people are like, oh, you got this, but he's got to play in the Marvel pit. It's like we've got the Samurai Jack guy, but he's got to play in the Star Wars pit. So you get a slight essence of Samurai Jack, but it's fundamentally Star Wars.
See, just to real quick before we wrap up on the twins, again, I haven't seen all of those in a while. I've been meaning to revisit it, especially because we're getting another Visions in 2025. Which I'm very excited for. But
Studio Trigger coming back, so
yeah. The thing I like about the twins, because I don't think it's my favorite. I think The Ninth Jedi is probably my favorite.
Which one?
Ninth Jedi.
Which one was Ninth Jedi?
No.
Ninth Jedi.
Ninth Jedi, I believe, is the one with the lady with the yellow lightsaber and like the propulsion heels.
Yes.
Which is the one if you have them pulled up, what's the one with the lightsaber with like it's the Jedi on the run and it turns out all those Jedi were secretly Sith?
That isn't Ninth Jedi.
No, hold on.
There is. There's the little weird like monkey dude. He's got like the big moustache. Certain that's Ninth Jedi.
If I see,
because the girls, it's the
if I see the episode list,
one's got the poncho, right? One's in pink.
Let me look at it.
Yeah, it's you think you got the right one because their saber's yellow, right? Okay. This is what I got confused on. The Village Bride is the one that is the most like Tartakovsky Clone Wars. The Ninth Jedi is my favorite. The Village Bride. Yes. I need to go back and watch Visions because I haven't. Oh no, yeah, really, yeah. That was my second favorite.
Yeah, it's been so
that one
long.
to me.
But
Star Wars has to go forward, like in a different direction. That's the direction you take Star Wars in.
which one? Ninth Jedi?
No,
Or
Village
Village?
Bride. Village.
I don't mind that at all.
Just the look of it, the feel of it. It's like that's what I want my Star Wars to be. But that's still weird coming out.
But what I will say about the twins that I do like about it, even though it's far from my favorite,
Zero taste. That's why.
It feels like the most. It feels the most like it is like Star Wars is a fable that has been passed down so many generations that like 8 characters all amalgamize into one. Where like the twins, like, yeah, you have Luke and Leia, and then Luke is extrapolated onto the one twin, and then you get a lot of like the Vader and Kylo Ren extrapolated onto the other one, where the Luke twin has all those Obi-Wan and Luke and Rey elements kind of extrapolated onto him. You know, all of these ideas of redemption and turning back, and these big space battles also become the lightsaber duels at the same time. It feels like all of Star Wars condensed into one story. And that is something I really appreciate about the twins. That I think was one of the twins' most bold creative choices, is that it feels like all of Star Wars condensed into one thing. And that I will
also the
give
only
twins
time you'll
flowers
ever
for.
see a lightsaber be cocked. So that was the greatest animated Star Wars scene in history. I will take no rebuttal. Zero.
I respect your take. It's not my personal favorite, but I think it is overhated.
Because people are heathens, that's why.
Oh no! Look at the opinion police now. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, but I'm defending it more on a studio animation level than a Star Wars level.
Mitch.
Also, it's not $1 billion conglomerate company that's been going for like 50 years. I'm thinking of Disney though. But you know, it's Lucasfilm, right?
Who made this? Who made
Star Wars?
Star Wars Visions?
Disney.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm talking about this one specific episode.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Disney didn't make this. Disney they distributed it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Multiple studios made this.
I will do my plugs first so that you can then set up what we're going to do next here on Pro and Noob. So you guys can find me over on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Dark Jedi 2552. Then you can find the Nerd Academy podcast, as well as our sister show, Knights of the Nerd Republic, where we talk about Star Wars, over at the Nerd Academy podcast YouTube channel and our podcast feed, wherever you listen to your pods. Mitch, where and what's next?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you didn't do the whole like .bluesky.social thing that you did on your Christmas episode. But,
I was trying to get into the habit of like. I was trying to get in the habit of like plugging the Blue Sky better, but I'm like, it's Dark Jedi 2552 on everything.
This is my thing when I heard you guys talking about it. Right, it's like you just say your handle normally because it auto-fills the rest of it because obviously you know.
You're sure, but at first for me when I was using Blue Sky, that's why I got kind of freaked out by it. I was looking people up by what I know their handles are, like that Alden Diaz, Mitch 692, you know, at Scott J Rowe. Like I was looking those up and they weren't coming up.
Oh well, they know.
At first, I had to then go, at social.bluesky.net.edu. I fucked your mom. Like then I had to do all that, and then they came up. But now it's working better, and I feel silly. But in my defense, that's why at first I was like, do I have to say the whole thing? Do I have to type in the whole fucking thing?
Yeah, it is messy. Yeah, they need to do something, even if it's just .bluesky. Like, why has it got to be .bluesky.social? What's the why has it got to be like a compound sentence? Like, there's no point. But you can find me right here, along with Jarod, for Pro and Noob, where next we are going over Princess Mononoke. Famous Studio Ghibli. And I'm very much trying to say Ghibli correctly because I found out I was saying Ghibli. And it was wrong, apparently. So, Studio Ghibli.
So it's a J sound.
Yeah.
Okay. I will do my best on that.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm very excited. This is again one of those like I am fully the noob again. So we'll be doing one of these maneuvers, and we'll be back to basics.
No, that just tripped me the fuck out. I looked down, looked back up, and I'm not looking at myself. It was just you. It's like, oh, what the fuck?
But yeah, Princess Mononoke. Very excited for that. Very excited for all of that. But one last time, thank you also very much for joining us for Star Wars Clone Wars. Thank you to Mitch, all kayfabe and joking aside, for indulging me for a Star Wars season. Who knows? We might even
smile and nod at wrestling references.
What?
Isn't that a wrestling? Wasn't that all wrestling references? Like kayfabe?
Oh, kayfabe, yeah. I say it so often.
I like how you turned it off to turn it back on again. Just like, what?
Well, I was confused by you, so I needed to hear you better over the wah.
That's fair.
But in all seriousness, thank you to Mitch for giving me a season to talk my shit. Who knows? We'll probably end up covering.
For getting me to actually watch it, 'cause it's been something I've always wanted to watch. I just never got around to it, and also the fact that it is completely irrelevant at this point is I never saw a need to go watch it.
Fair, but
it's a nice excuse.
You're welcome, and I'm very excited. And who knows? Maybe we'll end up covering Visions over here.
Visions would be really cool to do over here, actually.
Maybe do like a Visions revisited before Visions Volume 3 comes out.
Do we know when Volume 3 comes out?
Not off the top of my head.
So I'll tell you right now, June, July, we are actually booked. So we've got a lot to go over between now and then.
We'll look it up later. Anyway,
pause.
But yeah, so look forward to maybe a little bit more Star Wars at some point down the road. But thank you also very much for joining us. And for one last time, at least for now, may the Force be with you. Always.
Always.